Hello, everybody, and welcome to proPUCKERS, part of the TUNDRA Enthusiast News Network. I'm Mike Fink, and this is episode 6, and we are joined this time by Chase Beardsley. Chase covers the Arizona Coyotes for the Hockey Writers, now NHL Utah. Well, that's a discussion for another time. But we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup Finals, so far 2 games in. So first off, Chase, how are you doing? And second, an icebreaker I've been asking everyone is, at what age do you realize you're more likely to make a living playing hockey than writing about hockey and writing about sports than playing it?
I'm doing good, Mike. Thanks for asking. I think I figured that out around probably around high school. I knew I wasn't any good at hockey. I knew I was good at writing, so I was like, all right, we're going in this industry for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we all realize that at some point, but high school's a bit further than some other folks we've had, so I'll just say that. So good for you, I guess.
I guess I was a dreamer.
All right, yeah. So let's dive into this. So we're 2 games in. It's the Panthers have basically controlled it. It's series is 2-0. They've won both their home games. And let's first start by, what are some things that stand out? What's the first thing, aside from the Panthers really controlling the series, what has stood out to you in the series so far, 2 games in?
I comb over all the stats and I comb over all the scores and assists and all that. I see that the really big name players haven't really shown up in the series on both sides. I mean, Connor McDavid obviously only 1 point, and Leon Draisaitl doesn't even have a point. But you look at Florida's side, and it's really some of these, underrated players that are taking control. Evan Rodriguez has been incredible. 3 goals in these past 2 games, including the game winner yesterday in game 2. But you don't see Matthew Tkachuk out there. You don't see a lot of Ekblad or Barkov, and you more see them on the aggressive defensive side than anything, not on the score sheet yet. So it's going to be interesting when if these big players start scoring and coming out offensively. But it's been a lot of these really underrated players coming in. I mean, again, Evan Rodriguez, Nico Mikkola, who would have expected that insane goal yesterday?
I think it was his first postseason goal, and then he just finds the back of the net. Yeah,
I believe second, because he scored earlier in the playoffs, but the whole setup was incredible. Shooting off Bobrovsky with the spinorama and then coming back the other side, and that nice shot. I think that's the takeaway though.
He went from near scapegoat to basically the hero of the game. It is interesting you mentioned the depth, because that's the first thing that I think about, is that the Panthers have won these games with their depth scoring, which it's not that their offense isn't producing. It's that because they had, I mean, you want to count empty net goals. Yeah, they've had 7 goals in the first 2 games. I mean, really, you want to say it's a defensive battle, so they haven't been scoring as much. But they've been scoring. Evan Rodriguez has 3. Mikkola has 1. Carter Verhaeghe has 1, so he's their goal scorer. He has 10 now. But it has been their depth. And this is a series, I think what's interesting about that is that this is a series that I think we thought the Stars were going to take over on both sides, and instead it's been the opposite so far, which is go figure. You can't predict the playoffs in that sense.
Well, I think the one star that has showed up and has been incredible is Sergei Bobrovsky. I mean, he's been incredible for Florida. I mean, 32 shots in the first game against, and stopped every single one of them. And then yesterday, he let in a poor goal off that Ekholm shot, but other than that, he's been fantastic in these playoffs, and he's showed up for these finals. But again, we haven't seen Sam Reinhart that much. We think he had 1 assist in the first game, and then we haven't seen Sam Bennett a lot. I think he's up to 2 assists maybe now, but no goals from either of them.
I think him and Barkov have 4 assists, but it's not like they're not finding the back of the net like you'd think they would.
Yeah, Barkov got a assist in the first game. Ekblad got a goal, empty net goal yesterday, but again, not a lot of goals from those 4 players, and then throw Tkachuk in there. And like we've been saying, it's all these really, bottom line guys, underrated guys that are really doing it. Even the 1 goal scorer for Edmonton, it's Mattias Ekholm. I mean, I wouldn't have expected that, actually.
Yeah, I think Bobrovsky, let's kind of dive into Bobrovsky a bit, because this has been almost like the moment where it's like when he signed that contract in, I believe, the 2019 offseason, and it was just a lot of money, a lot of years, and 10 million per year, just the term. And everyone's like, this contract's aging poorly. This is gonna age poorly. It's gonna be a bad deal. And it's almost like this series has made up for it. And the way he's playing now, and it almost like it almost makes things say, it almost makes everyone say, okay, yeah, this contract is gonna be worth it. They win the cup. And I mean, maybe not entirely, but they he the way he's playing is like, oh yeah, this is what they signed him. This is what they brought him
Oh yeah.
in, and the way and it's incredible because I don't know if there's anything more the Oilers could do, and he's just shutting them down, which is I mean yeah, it's incredible. It almost makes signing him back in the day
Yeah.
worth it for these moments.
I think it is worth it. I mean, you look at these past two playoff runs. He's really helped them out both times, and he's made some fantastic stops. I think this run, especially if they win the cup, I mean, obviously it's worth it. I remember back when that contract was signed, the first year out of it too, everyone was, creating memes, joking how bad it was. And I remember it was up there with the Erik Karlsson contract, worst contracts right now, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
I think he's made it into, this is what he is. He's a fantastic playoff performer. He's good in the regular season, but he's great in the playoffs. I mean, that's the goaltender you really want.
And I think the other note is with him with his play is that when you sign a player like this, which I think you can criticize Bill Zito or you can criticize the front office of the Panthers for these types of deals, and when you make this type of deal, when you get an elite goaltender like this, you are betting at some point he has these types of moments or these types of performances. It may not work out initially, but when you give a goaltender like this a 7-8 year deal, you're expecting at some point that it will work out. And now with the patience the Panthers have had, and now the team around him, it's paying off and it's working out for them.
Did Zito sign that deal, or
I
was it Allen? I
I
always
gotta
forget.
now I gotta like almost like look. I'll probably like have to look that up after. Maybe he was like Zito's right after that. So like a
It
higher.
was definitely time. Yeah, but I think Bobrovsky's been incredible. And
Yeah.
I'll also mention Stuart Skinner. I'll throw him in there. I don't think he's the reason why the Oilers are losing at all. I think ever since the Canucks, series where Picard went in, split the two games, and then he took off, I don't think he's any part to
So
blame.
what has been the issue? Because I think there's a lot of things to point to.
Yeah.
This kind of like the shift a bit is what has been the Oilers' problem 2 games. I mean, there's a lot going wrong, obviously. It was not Skinner, which I think everyone was thinking he's going to turn into a pumpkin. He hasn't. That's the line I keep using. It's just like he's going to be
Yeah.
the reason they lose, and he's not been the reason they've been losing.
No, not.
What's been going wrong for them? What's been the thing that's costing them, really?
I think a huge reason is Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. They've been being
Yeah,
shut down. I think a memorable moment that if the Panthers do win the series, and whenever that is, I think it's going to be the Connor McDavid breakaway stop yesterday. Matthew Tkachuk was on him defensively. I
yeah,
haven't seen in this whole playoffs anyone really attack McDavid that well defensively, and he really annoyed McDavid. McDavid was going after him, and
it's
I think they're starting to get under McDavid's skin. I mean, again, 1 point, that's not what you want from Connor McDavid, who's been having an insane playoffs. I mean, the Oilers' power play hasn't been going off in this series
yeah.
either. Florida's been shutting them all down, which has been a problem for every team up until this point. I also think Florida's, a different beast from all the teams that Edmonton faced. I mean, they faced LA, which I don't know what's wrong with LA, but they easily
Yeah.
dispatched 5. Vancouver, that one is a bit tough, but Vancouver did
I
on their third string goaltender.
yeah, I think what the them leading up. So I think the Panthers are different. Also, not just with Kachuk, it's with Barkov, who has been
Oh
taking
yeah,
them out. It's their top line versus their top line versus our top line, and our top line can be your best. Which for the Oilers, McDavid should be able to win those battles, but he hasn't been. Barkov's been going toe to toe with him, which is just like an incredible feat on his part. Which I think is why I wouldn't criticize McDavid in this series, because if they're canceling each other out, that's fine. You take that. It's everything else. It's where's Leon Draisaitl in the playoffs? Where's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins? Where's your second line going against the Panthers' second line, which Barkov is not a part of? Where is the offense there? And I think that when I look at this, like that's something that I'm seeing, and I'm like, there has to be more, not just depth scoring, but Leon Draisaitl on a second line, or let's say you have Evander Kane playing on that second line. You just have these. You really just have, you're looking through the lineup and it's disappeared. There's no offense coming. If McDavid gets shut down by Barkov, you'll say, okay, yeah, it's fine, as long as someone else steps up. And so far nobody has. I think that and almost that's what's separating them from the Panthers.
Yeah, I think Evander Kane, as you mentioned, I think that's a massive one. He's been so disappointing these playoffs. He honestly hasn't been as noticeable as he should be. Zach Hyman hasn't had any points so far in the 2 games. I think he's had a terrific playoffs, but it's kind of dried up here. But I think, the whole, there's a huge issue in the room. The huge elephant is Darnell Nurse. People keep harping on him. And I mean, he's got one of the worst plus minuses in the playoffs and playoff history.
Yeah.
I mean, to
be fair, I don't like using the plus minus stat to say that he's been because in order to get a plus minus stat, there's just like a general hockey thing. You have to be on the ice enough, which means you have to be good enough to be on the ice enough. But anyway, I think the Nurse conversation, he's an easy scapegoat just because his contract is way too much money. And then like when the team struggles and when he's struggling on the ice, then it's like, yeah, it's easy to point to him as like the reason they've been losing these games.
I just don't think he's been playing well at all. I don't want to use him as the main scapegoat, but he's definitely one of them. And there's no excuse for your team trusts that much into you that they're giving you this big contract and you're not showing up in the biggest games. That's an issue. Again, he's not the only scapegoat, but he's definitely one of them. I don't think he should be left off the hook. I think that whole blue line hasn't been incredible in this series. I think the Panthers have easily been able to shut them down. I mean, you look at the zone time alone in these past 2 games, and Florida's really been running away with it. Yesterday they were insane. Edmonton had an average of 3 minutes in zone time, and Panthers were up to around 7, I believe, was the stat I saw in ESPN. Insane. You could see that when Florida was setting up, they did a great job setting up, but when Edmonton was setting up, they could barely get set up before the Panthers defense really took over.
Yeah, the Panthers, I mean, that's also like the Panthers fortunate. I think the note on Darnell is the other interesting thing in this series is that the Oilers' defense has been great in the playoffs and kind of helped them get to the final. I mean, they don't get there without their defense shutting down the Stars, shutting down the Canucks the way they did. I think this series has exposed the defense on an individual level. Much like as a unit, they're good. Knobloch's coached up that unit. And then on an individual level, though, Darnell Nurse, Cody Ceci, whether it's Darnay or Broberg, those players the Panthers can exploit. And they and credit to the Panthers, they have with pretty much their forechecking, their defensive play in the offensive zone. They can take advantage of mistakes, and pretty much they've done enough of those to take over these games to win the first 2 games of these series.
Yeah, I don't want to say the Cinderella run is over or that this was a Cinderella run, because it's not over. I mean, Panthers are up 2-0, but I mean, we saw, with the Roberto Luongo curse back in 2011, where Canucks were up 2-0 and eventually Boston won that series. So I don't want to say it's over yet or anything, but I think, this is a different beast than what Edmonton is facing. I think they've had a lot of, I don't want to say luck, but they've had a lot of Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl.
I think a lot go their way is, I think the best way to a lot went right, and now it's kind of like in Connor McDavid's quote about how everything can't evened out because of how they played in Game 6 against Dallas, where they got 10 shots on the net, and now you can't do that again and expect to win, kind of thing.
And you can't do that Florida, because as we
Yeah.
know, I mean, their team is incredibly deep.
Yeah. So what needs to go right? And we're kind of saying the Oilers, it's an uphill battle for them. The series, I mean, yeah, it is. They're down 2-0, and they need a win now. Pretty much both their games in Edmonton, and I mean, falling back 3-1, like it seems like they need to win both in Edmonton to even up the series and really give themselves a chance. What needs to go right for them?
We're back home, so that's always a good sign. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the Florida Heat got to them. Who knows? But
I think by the way, that note, because I people mentioning the Florida Heat and it's the longest distance, is I have a belief that the ice in Edmonton, which I think you hear people discuss about warmer climates where the ice is worse and versus colder climates, yes, better. That does make a difference. I think when you look at how they played against the Stars, let's say, and the first two games in Dallas were slow, chippy defensive games. All of a sudden, they get back to Edmonton, and for those who keep track of bets, who are betters, the over covered twice. Like they were fast paced. I think that so as much as people say, "Oh yeah, the climate or the home arena," that will make a difference. I think on that
yeah,
note.
it could. I mean, I think the main thing for Edmonton, I think it's very obvious. I mean, they need Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman going. I mean, they are the reason why they got here in the first place. Let's all be honest. I mean, they're
Yeah.
incredible players. They're some of the best players in the league. They need them going in these big games. And, I genuinely think if they can get Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl going, these games will be a lot closer because, I mean, honestly, outside of maybe the first two periods yesterday, these games have not been that close. It's been Bobrovsky stealing the show or the defense of the Florida Panthers and the aggressiveness of the Florida Panthers, really taking away any opportunity that Edmonton has. So they need all these players going. I'm surprised we haven't seen a lot from, again, Vander King, Corey Perry, these guys are agitators. They haven't seen a lot of them, really. Corey Perry, I don't know if he played last night. I believe he might have been scratched, but you want to see those people try to get under to Chuck's skin. All these people who have been getting under the skins of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and all those people.
It almost seems like if they have been playing, they haven't been playing a lot. They haven't been getting an ice time. The ice time, I think. So I think that's part of it. Where I think the Oilers are going to take over.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have McDavid get a ton of ice time in the next game. In the next two games, they say, "What's left in you?" And same with Draisaitl. Like he might be playing at 80%. I mean, everyone's battling an injury at this point
Yeah.
anyway. But to say like, okay, what's left in you? We got to get it out of you. I think, yeah. I mean, the offense just needs to play better. Like it's almost cliche, but like that's the first thing. And I think with the same note of the offense, we got to see Evan Bouchard open up the offense at the point. I think what did he have? He have 6-21 through the first three rounds, and he's been a non-factor in the first two games. That seems to be the difference maker in a series like this where the Panthers aren't giving McDavid or Draisaitl or Zach Hyman anything, any open ice, any open looks. Bouchard just taking those shots on the point, Bouchard opening up the offense from the point, all of a sudden frees everything up. And all of a sudden gives the Oilers offense some life in a series where they frankly need it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he did get an assist yesterday, so again, we shall see if he starts, putting in some goals and stuff. But I mean, even Nico Mikkola put in a goal yesterday, so I think if he can do it, anyone can do it. No diss to Nico Mikkola, but not the goal scorer Bouchard is labeled as,
Yeah, I mean, you could also say the same thing with Evan Rodriguez. If he's the one scoring, like anyone could and should be fine the back of that. But yeah, I mean, I mean, it's almost like that's been the tail of the tape where the Panthers have been getting those that depth scoring. The Oilers, their top six, which again is the criticism of that second line. I think just hasn't been producing, and it almost seems like that's what's gonna have to change. Well, I guess you looking forward, do you see the Oilers coming back, or is this the Panthers to lose now? Which it is the Panthers to lose, obviously. But
well, yeah.
Do you see the Panthers closing it out in not just four, but like let's say they get one on the road and then they close out in five type of series at this point, or do you see the Oilers end up making it close because like the first two games a lot went wrong for it was just like controlled by the Panthers, their forecheck was established, everything was going their way. Bobrovsky was playing out of his mind. Where maybe the Oilers all of a sudden, if they set the tone, they make it a fast-paced game, let's say, can they start coming back in the series? Do you see that?
I think, when you have Connor McDavid on your team, anything's possible. Look, Panthers haven't won the cup yet. It's a 2-0 series right now. Yeah. Going to Edmonton, that place is gonna be rocking. I mean, Canada's.
I think it's gonna be like. It's going to be rocking, and it's going to also have this like nervous energy where like if they don't score first, you're going to feel that more of a tension that's going to be building. But like if they get that first goal, and the place is going to be like going crazy after.
Oh yeah. I can totally see Edmonton, coming back into the series. Do I think that happens? No, I think the Oilers do steal a game in Edmonton. I think being home will help, and I think Connor McDavid will steal a game for them. I kind of could see it going kind of like how Vegas won the cup last year, going back home. Florida won, I think it was game 3, stole a game in OT. I could see the Oilers totally stealing a game in OT, but I really have a lot of faith in Florida. I don't want to jinx it for all the Panthers fans out there or all the Oilers fans out there, but I think this Panthers team is just way too deep, way too lethal, way too aggressive. Bobrovsky's just too good right now. Yeah. To really this series. I think the series ends in 5. Would not be surprised if it goes 6, but I think it goes 5. Panthers win it in Sunrise in front of Ariana Grande and all their fans.
all the celebrity. I wonder if who will bang the drum. Maybe she'll be the one banging the drum for game 5 if
that's cool.
If they get there. But yeah. I'm wondering because I picked the Panthers in 7 just like to wonder how it would get back to, because I think the Oilers could still make it even if they lose a game at home right now, to see if they could if they win game 5 on the road and then win game 6 where it could go to 7. But I mean but Bobrovsky's the cherry on the top here, where as we're talking about this, you just can't see the Panthers losing not just the series, but a game in the series where there's almost not much the Oilers can do against him, just the way he's been playing. And it is the kind of series they had the advantage coming in, and now the Panthers are getting the full benefit of having the elite. I mean, really the elite goaltender, which is crazy because like you don't think of Bobrovsky necessarily, especially during regular season, as an elite goaltender. He used to be in Columbus, and now he's tailed off in the regular season. But this play in the playoffs has been elite, and it's hard to deny it. And this is what the Panthers were getting when they got him, when they signed him.
Well, I liked what Elliot Friedman said after game 1 on the 32 Thoughts podcast. If this is the worst the Panthers are playing, allowing that many shots against Edmonton, not getting a lot of shots, and they won 3-0, then it's going to be something else when they start playing their best hockey. And I think that could be said for both sides, but specifically for Florida. If they took 2 games out of the Oilers and honestly they didn't play their best, again, we mentioned all these players that like Sam Bennett, Reinhart, Tkachuk, who don't have a lot of points in the series so far. They're not playing their best right now. Damn, if they do play their best in Edmonton, it could be game over for Edmonton. Yeah. But again, their stars haven't been playing well either, as we said.
Yeah, it's like it can with the Panthers. If Tkachuk starts get going, then yeah, you could end early. I mean, yeah, and it's also the same way with the Oilers, where if their stars start clicking, then they're all of a sudden back into this in this series. And I mean, that's kind of why, as much as it has been one-sided, and I think, and yeah, it's hard to ignore that Panthers have dominated play. The Oilers, it's hard to say, oh yeah, they're out completely. I mean, it's the Panther series to lose. I just think there is an outside chance of the Oilers, if they can get if their stars can just especially if their star power gets going a bit. I mean, it's really, and it's also about like finding those open shots, getting those open shots, trying to create those opportunities, especially for like Zach Hyman, Draisaitl. They need their looks, and they haven't been getting them. Credit to the Panthers defense. So I mean, that's kind of where we're at 2 games in. All right, so I guess we're running low on time. So Chase, any plugs, any articles in the works? Where can we find you? What what are you working on these days?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with the whole Coyotes relocation to Utah, it's a bit crazy, but you can find me for all the latest Utah updates. Chase Beardsley _. Still weird saying Utah updates. You can find me on Instagram, Chase Beardsley Sports, and anything on the Hockey Writers. NHL Utah, it's gonna be a fun off season. Looking forward to it. First off season Utah history. Very, very excited for it.
I think their name is going to be decided soon. They've got 6 choices, right?
We at the NHL Utah side of the Hockey Writers, we just did an article basically ranking the final 6, and the first selection ended up being Outlaws for us, which I agree on. I hope Outlaws.
Yeah,
I don't like it. No, that's an unpopular choice. I don't like Yeti.
No, like I was rooting. I saw the final 6, and I was like, I'm rooting for the one that doesn't end, that ends with an S. Just like not the ones that are the Yeti or whatever. Because like for us writers, whenever we type and then spell checks, like, don't you mean the Yeti is a good hockey team? It's like, no, and we're not doing this again. Like, no, just give me the S, the team that ends with an S, which is the Outlaws. Like, yeah, just give me that. So I'm rooting for them, even though it's an uphill battle with
I'm
6 to
still
choose from.
dumbfounded how Hockey Club made its way into the final 6. Don't know how that happened, but it's there.
Hockey Club. The Hockey Club won. Which one? You know, the Hockey Club.
Yeah. I'm a fan of Hockey Club. I don't know, man. That's not a good look.
All right. So, all right, that's all we got. We're running out of time. So, thank you for watching episode 6. Because we got Chase on, I guess the honorary captains have to be Shea Weber, Jacob Chikrin. Well, we'll throw in Brock Besser as well, but the big 2, Chikrin, Shea Weber, some stay-at-home, some two-way defensemen on that list. Anyway, so thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed, and please like, comment, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time on another great episode. Thank you.